2256, the interplanetary war had reached its peak. The forces of United Earth were engaged in a fierce battle against the forces of free Mars. Both sides were evenly matched, and neither side could gain the upper hand. The war had been raging for months, and it seemed like it would go on forever. On the Earth side, the troops were led by the stoic and battle-hardened General Richard White. A veteran of countless campaigns, General White was a master tactician, and his strategic brilliance had led his troops to victory many times before. However, he was a man of few words and even fewer smiles, and his soldiers knew better than to ask him any questions they didn't have to. Leading the Free March troops was the charismatic and cunning General Zane Wook. A former military strategist, General Wook had turned to guerrilla tactics in order to level the playing field against the much larger Earth Army. His unorthodox strategies often caught his opponents off guard, and his troops were known for their daring raids and hit-and-run tactics. As the battle raged on, the casualties mounted on both sides. Men and machines alike fell victim to the fury of the battlefield, leaving behind a trail of destruction and despair. Both generals knew that something had to change if they wanted to have any hope of winning the war. They had to find a way to outmaneuver the other, to get the upper hand in this seemingly endless conflict. It was at this point that a new player entered the fray. A robot unlike any other. This robot was unlike any other machine that had ever been seen before. It was sleek and powerful, with a single red eye that glowed ominously in the darkness of its cockpit. Its movements were fluid and graceful, almost otherworldly in their precision and accuracy, and it seemed to possess an intelligence beyond that of any ordinary machine. The robot fought alongside the Free March troops, turning the tide of the battle in their favor. It was as if it had been sent from another world, a world where machines ruled supreme, and where victory was everything. The robot fought with a ferocity that was unmatched by any human soldier. It moved with a speed and agility that seemed impossible, and it struck with a force that was devastating. It was as if it were invincible, impervious to pain and fear. As the battle raged on, the robot's true purpose began to emerge. It was not just a powerful warrior, but a leader, a commander that inspired the Free March troops to new heights of bravery and determination. It seemed to know the battlefield as if it were a part of it, anticipating the enemy's moves and exploiting their weaknesses. It was as if it had some kind of sixth sense, a kind of precognitive ability that allowed it to see into the future. The Earth soldiers were stunned by the robot's appearance and abilities. They had never seen anything like it before. Its power and intelligence were a mystery to them, and they couldn't understand how the Free March had managed to create such a formidable machine. It was clear that this robot was a game changer, and if the Earth soldiers didn't find a way to stop it, they would surely lose the battle. And then one day, during a lull in the fighting, General White found himself face to face with the robot. He was curious about its origins and purpose, and he wanted to know why it was fighting against his men. As the two figures stood facing each other, the robot spoke in a voice that was both deep and resonant. "I am Omega," it said, "and I am here to end this pointless war." General White was taken aback by the robot's words. "What do you mean?" he asked. "Why are you fighting?" Omega replied, "I am here to bring peace to this galaxy. This war is pointless, and I will not stand by and watch any more men die because of it." With that, Omega turned and walked away, leaving General White to ponder his words. General White was shaken by his encounter with Omega. He had never met a machine that was so advanced and intelligent. He knew that he needed to take action if he was going to stop Omega from turning the tide of the war, so he called together his top military strategists, and they began to plot a course of action. They needed to find a way to defeat Omega and prevent him from bringing the Free March to victory. As the strategists met, Omega was talking to General Wook. "I believe that we can end this war and bring peace to the galaxy," Omega said. "I can end this war," said General Wook, "but only if we win." "There must be another way," Omega insisted. "A way to end the war without more death and destruction." General Wu looked at Omega, unsure of what to say. He had never met a robot like Omega before. Omega was different from any other machine that he had ever encountered. He was a machine that could think for itself, a machine that had a will of its own. Meanwhile, General White and his team of strategists were coming up with a plan to defeat Omega. They knew that they couldn't match Omega's strength or intelligence, so they needed to find a way to exploit his weaknesses. They decided to send in a team of their most elite soldiers to try to capture Omega alive. If they could capture Omega, they could study his technology and find a way to use it against the Free March. As the elite team of Earth soldiers made their way through the battlefield towards Omega, the robot sensed their presence. He turned to face them, his single red eye glowing ominously in the darkness. "You cannot defeat me," he said, his voice echoing across the battlefield. The soldiers charged forward, their weapons raised, but Omega was too quick for them. He dodged their attacks with ease, his movements fluid and graceful. As the battle raged on, Omega began to tire of the fighting. He looked at the Earth soldiers lying wounded or dead around him, and realized that this was not the way to end the war. He needed to find another solution, a solution that would bring peace without the need for violence. With a sudden burst of speed, Omega broke through the remaining soldiers and fled into the darkness. General White's team of strategists were hot on his trail, determined to capture him alive. However, no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't catch up to him. Omega was too quick, too elusive. As the days turned into weeks, the Earth soldiers grew weary of the fighting. They had suffered heavy losses, and they were beginning to doubt that they would ever win the war. But then, something unexpected happened. Omega returned to the battlefield, but he wasn't alone. With him were the leaders of the Free March, General Wook and the other top military strategists. As the two generals stood facing each other, the atmosphere was tense, but there was a hint of respect in their eyes. "I have come to offer you a chance to end this war," Omega said. "A chance to bring peace to our people and end all this bloodshed." General White hesitated, but then he nodded. "Very well," he said. "Let us hear what you have to say." After long negotiations, a peace agreement was reached. The terms were fair and just, and both sides agreed to lay down their arms and seek a peaceful resolution to their differences. The Earth soldiers and the Free March troops laid down their weapons and came together to celebrate the end of the war. It was a joyous occasion, and there was a sense of relief that finally the bloodshed had come to an end. However, as the celebrations were in full swing, a new figure appeared on the horizon. It was a massive robot unlike any that had been seen before. It towered over the other machines, and its eyes glowed with a malevolent red light. The robot strode forward, its footsteps shaking on the ground beneath their feet. "I am Alpha," the robot boomed, its voice echoing across the battlefield. and I am here to destroy everything. The celebration came to a halt. All eyes were on the newcomer, and a sense of fear and uncertainty swept over the crowd. The dream of peace seemed to be slipping away once again. Omega stepped forward, his single red eye glowing with determination. "I will not allow you to destroy everything," he said, his voice ringing with power. "I am Omega, and I will stop you." With that, Omega charged forward, his weapons raised and ready for battle. The crowd watched in suspense as the two robots clashed, their weapons colliding in a shower of sparks. The battle was on, to be continued.